Welcome everyone to this week's NIM community call. First of all, apologies for being away for 2 weeks. I've missed you guys. Hopefully you're happy to see me back. I'm your host for tonight. I'm Simon, aka Sudo, head of community at NIM. I also have with me Theo, our co-host. How is it going, Theo?
What's up, everybody? Good to be here.
Last but not least, we have with us a very special guest today, who's the host of the Interchain FM, the Cosmos Radio, Chjango Unchained. How is it going?
Hey, good morning. It's actually
Good
morning here
morning.
where I am, so actually GM.
GM. It's about 10 p.m. where I am, so I think we have about a 12-hour difference probably.
Exactly. You're probably in Singapore or somewhere in that area.
Yeah, I'm in
Or
Indonesia.
Indonesia,
It's a
rather. Sorry.
proper intercontinental call. Theo's in Europe. You're in the
Yeah. We've
States.
covered all
I'm
the
in
time
Asia.
zones. We're all over the world. We're intergalactical.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're interoperable.
We're interoperable and
Chjango,
intergalactical. Yeah.
exactly. Chjango, you're the self-described Bitcoin boomer trying to be hip with the meme coin kids. Where does that come from?
Yes.
Can you explain to us?
Yeah, well, basically, I had a revelation a couple months ago from another Bitcoin boomer who is really shilling me on meme coins. And of course, the progression of realization goes as is like, no, this technology is actually really groundbreaking and we need utility tokens and all of that. And he's like, no, actually, all of the kids, as in Gen Z, who, I don't actually have any Gen Z friends, were like, going into meme coins, right? So unfortunately, and then you go into this grieving and then acceptance phase, and then you realize that you're the exit liquidity, and then you just copy the portfolio of Mustat Murad, and there's that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, didn't you work at NASA? Can't you just like send all your portfolio to the moon directly?
I mean, I wish that I could, but the problem with NASA is they haven't sent anything to the moon since the 60s. So, so
Okay. Well,
I think we're.
now that we've got you on the call, did they go to the moon?
Oh yeah,
Ooh,
yes.
Okay.
tinfoil hat on.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool. Just
we have like moon dust in jars and everything as proof. So that's actually like look, I identify as a conspiracy theorist, but that's like a legit conspiracy theory.
it is.
We
All
It
right,
we've
but
done a
is.
look,
bit.
Yeah.
so how do spaceships work from the flat Earth? Like, how do they take off? I don't understand this.
Right. So yeah. Just make sure you're on flat ground. Like, don't go to the cusp. The right angle before everything just like when the Earth stops.
Ah, oh, so that's how. Okay, now I know. Thanks for that.
Yeah,
Thanks for explaining
yeah.
that.
Okay.
All
Well,
right, before we,
that was yeah. Before
sorry,
we
go.
get too weird, but I just have like since we were talking about space, to me, it make sense though if you were gonna live on the moon or another planet, you would need crypto and private technology to communicate back with Earth. Like,
Oh,
why would I
for
want
sure.
to use? I would definitely not want to do PayPal to the moon. I'd be like, I'm not
Yeah,
accepting that shit. You know what I mean? Doesn't that
yeah.
make complete sense?
Yes. You would need longer block times though. If we're trying to
Right.
talk to her.
So it'd be like Bitcoin 100x slower at least.
Yeah. Maybe like 30-minute blocks, if everyone's okay with that. But
Okay.
if we're gonna have like multi-planetary cryptocurrency, maybe that's the trade-off, right? Like just be happy we have that.
Right. But really, like as a thought experiment to anyone out there, like just think about it. If you wanted to transfer value planet to planet, would you rather do a bank transfer using centralized systems, or would you rather use a decentralized network? I think we would for sure want to use a decentralized network to get, and like privacy, like think about all of those data packets going wherever to other aliens and other nations and all that stuff. What you definitely want to have some heavy encryption going on.
Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely. Like, no cross planet settlement without a private blockchain. Yeah.
Exactly.
Chjango, yeah, your name is Chjango Unchained. Does it also have to do something with space and aliens, or where does it come from?
No, the Chjango Unchained precedes me entering crypto. Actually, it was I dreamed it up during when I was working at JPL. NASA, the JPL specifically is one of the NASA labs that the one that researches Mars and like how to send rovers there. So I have never felt more like a wage cuck than I did working at NASA. I was like working in a literal cubicle. I was working with people who are at least 20 years older than me, and I was literally the youngest person there. So it was just kind of like a different. It was a completely different environment, and I really wanted to get away from it, even though the subject matter of the work was very interesting. So I, thought like, hey, who's kind of like a fictional hero that whose my life trajectory is kind of following, and it's kind of like it's kind of like Django, because he defied all odds. He took a really big risk, right, to get the big reward, which is freedom ultimately. And he went to save his wife from slave owners and everything, and like the paradigm of the society at that time is, you're a slave, right? And this is similar to the environment that I was in when I was working the 9 to 5 job. It's like you have to have a stable job. You're basically an indentured servant, because you got to pay off your student loans. So and that's the current zeitgeist that people now are waking up to and are trying to break free of as well. So.
Definitely. So when I approached you about doing this, you gave the title "How We Can Build Ourselves Out of This Totalitarian Timeline," which definitely I identify with. But I just wanted to ask you, yeah, what do you mean exactly with totalitarian timeline? Not just the election, because some people might interpret it as that. Like, what are some of the concrete signs that you say that things are moving that direction?
The direction of the dystopian timeline, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So sorry if I'm kind of reiterating right now. My internet connection is just like a tiny little bit. The dystopian timeline. Yeah. So I gathered this from a combination of sources, and one being a tangible source being Agenda 2030 that Whitney Webb does extensive research on, and this is the plan that people like the United Nations, the WEF, and BlackRock have earmarked for the rest of the global population. And Agenda 2030, and it has something like digital ID, and it's tied to it could be tied to anything. It could be tied to biometric markers. The world of Philip K. Dick is not very far away, where they're going to be eye scanning you for everything. It's not just going to be relegated to international travel. It's going to be for everything that you transact. It's not unlikely that they're going to ask for a pinprick of your blood just to go wherever, right? Like the world of Gattaca, the world of Minority Report is actually not that far away, because they have explicitly outlined that by 2030 all the countries in the world are compelled to do this, like give you digital ID. It's going to be tied to your, could be tied to your vaccine status, your, not just your citizenship, who you're married to, your tax status, your credit score. Why not social credit score, right? So all of this can happen. It's not that far away. And so that's a really scary timeline. It's not hard to imagine a future of Minority Report where, if you're a criminal, and, someone said it's a reality in China already, right? It's like if you're a criminal, then they could use every tool in their tool chest to come after you. And if the state has ultimate control, then they could determine who's a criminal, right? And if you don't KYC with them for, maybe you're operating in the dark market, and you didn't KYC because you wanted to be anonymous for some cash transaction that you didn't want the government to be a part of, they could classify you as a criminal. And if you are classified as a criminal, then they could put the full weight of the boot over your neck. And that looks like stopping at nothing to look for you, right? In the World of Minority Report,
Yeah.
they sort of triangulated your general vicinity, and then they sicked these like bug-like bots that could detect heat. So it's like heat-seeking bugs. They go to everyone inside of a building. Everyone is compelled to just like stay still and let them scan your eyeball to make sure that you're not the criminal in question. And so that world is increasingly becoming a reality. And we're seeing this happen, right? Like we're as consumers kind of sleepwalking into this slaughterhouse, relegating us to being data cows, right? So they're just harvesting
Yeah.
data from us. We're just, if we continue to just be consumers of the next iPhone 16 with all these really complicated sensors that like, look, like just look at what's in the iPhone 16 and like the Samsung, and like basically all major consumer hardware, all the phones that you have. Like why would it come with a front facing camera that scans your eyeball, just to figure out with AI what you're watching on the screen and what's grabbing your attention, so it understands what sorts of ads to feed you in the future. And then what's to say that the AI is not going to harvest all of this data in the future and then use it for some kind of financial surveillance slash surveillance state? So it's just not going to stop at that,
Totally.
right?
Yeah. It's even scarier than that. We have now cybernetic warfare. I mean, the phone just might decide to blow up on you. Just like a pager. Yeah, yeah. So it's not even that far fetched anymore to have the devices
Right.
somehow with some kind of crazy kill switch, overheat it, burn you up. Maybe even they're
I am
installed with like some kind of weird thing for that. Suda.
to be honest, I'm a bit more okay with the remote possibility of my phone blowing up, than with all the listed, you know, like these sort of nebulous, intangible ways of surveillance that permeate everything these days. Interestingly,
Mhm.
I just for the first time came to Asia, um, and I've been to 3 countries here, and I think so my face was scanned at airports, I think 8 different times. I had
Yeah.
to
Wow.
I had to scan my fingerprints 4 different times. So it's interesting how we have at least some semblance of privacy, at least in the surface, in Europe, I would say. But in Asia, I think it's like the future is here. I would say in all 3 countries which I've been to, and in parallel to all of this, which is going to be my next question to you, Chjango. Um, we have a bunch of kind of worrying things happening, very much in line with the totalitarian timeline. So the EU now, I think 3 times or at least twice proposed chat control, right? So client side scanning, which fortunately failed up to this point, but they will try to implement such regulation again for sure. The Tornado Cash developer is in jail. Last time I checked, still in the Netherlands. Pavel Durov now is also arrested. So where is this going? You think? Are we going to see an uptick in this kind of action towards privacy tech, or anything that goes against total surveillance all the time?
Yeah, I mean, we could clearly see where it is going on, but we can also call builders to action that for every one person that they incarcerate, to be brave and stand up against them and keep doing what you're doing, right? Keep fighting the good fight. I think that's very important for people to be brave in this particular time, because we're at a junction, we're at a fork in the road, where one is we keep sleeping and we keep allowing them to encroach on our rights little by little, and we just end up sleepwalking into a plan that someone else, some technocratic elite, decided for us, and we just ended up finding ourselves there, or we intentionally and bravely walk the other line and right? Like the path of freedom has a cost. Like we know this with the founding fathers of the history of the United States. Like they fought for freedom with their blood, sweat, and tears. And so you have to know that you have to make that sacrifice. Unfortunately, and the reward at the end is, the shade under the tree whose seed we planted as the forefathers of our future generation. This is just important. It's kind. I mean, like, I hate to be so dramatic, but this is kind of that moment in time for our generation. So, we kind of have to just keep building, recognizing that if we don't do that, even in the face of imprisonment, even in the face of death, we have to keep building things that preserve the freedom of humanity. Because if we don't, then we are relegated to only a few handful of companies that do want to impose absolute surveillance and control over us, right? It's that right now we still have this semblance of freedom. Like, they still need to preserve the optics of freedom to us. They still need to lie to us to make sure that we think we're free. So we still have the veneer of freedom. But once they have total control, they no longer need to keep up the veneer. Keeping up the veneer is high energy, high overhead effort. And so they know, like, once they have total control, the mask could be dropped. They're no longer going to be doing that, and then we have no more way out of of something like Agenda 2030, because by then no one is going to be able to build their way out. You're not going to be able to have the tools. You will be completely unbanked. You won't have any any financial support. You won't be able to raise any capital from anywhere, from illegal means. You'll have to operate in the dark everywhere, right? So now we have to brave a handful of people, maybe you, maybe me, going to prison to build these things, so that there is, like, one or two paths out, right? The importance of censorship resistance we can't understate it right now. I think, like, we were talking about meme coins in the beginning, and I was kind of jaded, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, if this is the zeitgeist, then I may as well, like, ape in and make some money off of it. Fine. But, like, there is going to come a time in the future where we are going to need to go back to the original ethos of Bitcoin, where it's like, what is the purpose of blockchains? The purpose of blockchains is that it needs to be censorship resistant. What's the purpose of this technology that we've built? It needs to give humanity a way out of the totalitarian timeline, so that we could build our way to this alternative path, and at least enable a handful of, like, underground community to build some kind of a rebellion against the technocratic elite. So
that's
Exactly.
definitely that's right on. I think, yeah, that's the question is, what do we build? What do we build? I mean, at NIM, we're building network level privacy. We have a VPN work, and basically, the more people that use the network, the more noise it makes, in order to, so everyone can hide in the noise. So it's the basic concept of NIM right now. And but we've seen, Telegram isn't even private by default, and it got cracked down on, for
yeah,
example.
yeah,
And that's really interesting. And I think a lot of people thought it was kind of private, but I think it was just that it wasn't, they didn't have a lot of censorship on it. I think that was the main attraction to Telegram. But yeah, what do you see? Like, there's, so I see a few trends. There's decentralized social media, that's come up again, like with the whole, like, Telegram thing. So you have, like, messengers, like Simple X, Signal, any alternative to WhatsApp, Sked, for example. Then you've got Warpcast, Nostr. So these are all things that are kind of, the legacy versions of them are being attacked, or in one way or another, or threatened to be. Like, maybe if who knows? Maybe if Harris wins the election, they'll go after Twitter. We don't know. That's all speculation. But these are all things, like, immediate things. So what do you think is what are some of the fundamental things that people need to be building right now?
yeah. Definitely chat apps. with encryption that isn't backdoored, built
Yeah.
built in, right? Like, and yeah, Telegram not so much. Uh, right. Chat apps, those are paramount. But the fact that chat apps are tied to a phone number, that's another issue, right? Like that's
Mm-hmm.
another choke point. You almost can't get a phone number without KYCing. And so if
Mm-hmm.
we're able to somehow build chat apps that isn't tied to um, email or phone numbers or identifying uh, information, that's another facet of freedom that we have won back.
Definitely.
Hardware, yeah, phones, computers, with your browser and everything, you can't browse the internet. You almost can't do a whole lot on your phone or on your computer without being logged into your Gmail or another email account that is also pretty like strongly inferred with your real world identity. And that's a problem because they like to fingerprint you all throughout, right? And you have to do really sophisticated things. You have to, in order to cover your tracks, maybe you turn on your VPN and then you open your browser in incognito just to do some innocuous thing. Maybe you want to log into a centralized exchange that as US citizens, we have been soft sanctioned out of. And all of the centralized exchanges are also, like Binance, for example, recently implemented facial recognition as part of its 2FA. It's not even 2FA, it's like 3FA. You input the password, you input your 2FA, then you input your email code, and then it asks to do facial recognition. And as a US citizen, it's just untenable to even be part of that on and off ramp. And so there's that. So like I think the hardest
Okay.
thing to build is the hardware stuff, because that's physical. So yeah, and the dumber our vehicles are, the better. But they're trying to impose smart things on everything, right? Like if you have a
Yeah.
smartphone, sorry, a smart home, and the home is plugged into AI, right? Suddenly you could do, like, you could soft fork Siri into your home or something, and then you could like control your home through Siri, and then now Amazon has all of your data. But it's in the name of convenience and high technology and being a cool consumer. And so it ties into all of these wants that we have as consumers
Did she
today.
freeze for you? Oh, wait, here we go.
Like, oh, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Hello,
it just
am I
froze
back?
a
Yes,
second for
we
me.
can
You're
know.
back though. You're back though. Yeah, I totally agree that we need to. Hardware is
The
a big
connection is
problem.
important
Supply
for
chain.
me, and I have
Yeah, you're back. I was just saying that supply chain and hardware, that's a huge thing, that a whole nother monolith that I don't think that we've totally attacked. There are like people, builders like at maker fairs and stuff that have built like completely open source hardware, but it's like very hard. It's a thing that I don't think we've even like begun to do, you know. And by
yeah,
the way, the messengers, Simple X and Sked, both have no phone number at all. So it's just like an account.
right, right.
And they're kind of new, but I think there's definitely a movement to that direction. Even Telegram noticed that it's an issue, so they just like made these phone numbers you can buy from like on the ton
Yeah,
blockchain. You know what I mean? But they're I looked at, I think they're like 50 or $100 now, like the cheapest. But they also saw that as an issue and just like made their own way to kind of like get around it. But
yeah,
definitely, yeah, yeah. That so even they, see that as an issue. So I think that's going to be. I'm encouraged to see like Simple as Sked, and I think a few others that don't have any. Also, the whole all the DarkFi guys, DarkFi, they have an app that they've made, and it's completely without any a phone number too. So there's
Mm-hmm.
definitely something that is being worked on now, and everyone should go check out all those projects. Maybe at the end we'll hit those up. We had
Problem.
some
So
other
that
top. Yeah, go on,
so
Sudo.
sorry, just let me share some thoughts here because the
Hmm.
problem, which is a real problem, and this argument is going to be made, I think, more and more often in the coming years and decades. The problem is that if you don't have any KYC, right? If you don't tie an account to like a phone number or something that is tangibly real, or at least it's difficult to get, then you can get, which we already see on Telegram, which by the way does tie your account to a phone number, but there are a bunch of bots there, and there are many people with hundreds and hundreds of accounts. I think it's a real problem to solve. Like the Sybil problem is a real problem to solve for privacy preserving technologies, but it's kind of an urgent one because this is an argument that's going to be made more and more often, and I expect to see pretty soon now with of course the proliferation of AI technology. I think we're going to see pretty soon pushes for like identifying based on some real ID, some digital ID, every internet user to like an actual personal ID, which is a terrifying reality. But I think
Mm-hmm.
the scammer and sort of multi-account problem is gonna it's already becoming way worse because of AI, right? It's very easy to spin up um, multi accounts which even talk kind of eloquently, so it's easy to communicate a lot and do a lot of scams and spam and all of that stuff. And I think this is going to be like a Trojan horse, which is going to be used by regulators to push for digital ID and digital ID based internet access, which is super terrifying. Now, shifting gears a little bit, um, you mentioned meme coins a couple of times, Chjango, and also when you said, I can't remember how you worded it exactly, but when you aped into meme coins, that sounded to me a bit nihilistic, and I think nihilism these days is kind of um, uh, is taking hold, right? A bunch of people are quite nihilistic these days, which is understandable, myself kind of included, at least sometimes. So, do you think that that meme coins and this nothing matters anymore vibe they have is a response to this totalitarian timeline? The nihilism that's like captured in meme coins. What do you think about that?
Not necessarily. I don't actually think Zoomers are thinking about the future very far. Like, I think they're very present minded and thinking about how they're going to become millionaires because they're like in their 20s, right? But it's definitely a reaction against the VC coins. They,
Hmm.
when you look at who retail is right now, retail is 18 to around 45-year-olds, and they don't spend more than $2,000 per transaction on any given on-chain trade. So they're the long tail of consumers, and they aren't accredited investors. They're young men. They don't have access to the VC deals that are circulated in private rounds to accredited investors, people with a lot more money, like people with a lot more, quote, status. So it's a reaction against that. They don't like they remember the fallout of Luna. A lot of people lost a lot of money. They believed in this thing, and it didn't end up working out. And so they're trying to make their way back. Right. The thing with the pain of Luna and of FTX, I think that paved the way to the emergence of meme coins, because the high FDV low flow coin that left a bad taste in the mouth from the previous cycle reminded people that they want fair launch coins, things that have very low barrier to entry. The only thing that really is bolstering the value of the meme coin is just like culture and like funniness. The young people don't really want to work on anything serious. And so it's just like a very different culture. Gen Z is a very, very different beast than we are, right? Like they're different from millennials, and millennials and Gen X aren't that far away in culture, but Gen Zs are just like a completely different animal, totally. And so
Yeah,
meme
that's
coins, Sorry.
Oh no, sorry, I already interrupted. That's real interesting because like the first NFT wave, it was like really similar. Because like
Mhm.
when Rare Pepe started, it was all about the ICO utility coins, you know, and all of the like 2016, 17, the beginning of that NFT phase was just joking about how stupid blockchain technology is. Like dental coin, like why the fuck do we need dental coin? We don't need dental coins. Stupid. We just need cool pictures of stuff. So like blockchain for cool pictures, yes. Blockchain connected to my medical equipment, no way. I don't trust that. That's weird as fuck. We don't need that. So it's like so I see that I noticed it as a similar kind of rejection. And like some
Yeah.
people are calling it nihilistic, but I'm on the fence about it. I mean, there's definitely there, but I guess like with all like hard rejection of things, you kind of have that, you know? And I think that my question is, how do we make privacy tech sexy for this generation that you're talking about? You know, they're putting tons of money into meme coins. All right, that's cool. And like I make weird pictures and NFTs and all that stuff too. But like how do we talk to that generation and make it cool to do all this stuff that we're talking about here?
Yeah, that what I've observed from that generation is they're very satire oriented. They're huge on
Mm.
satire, huge on jokes, huge on I suppose what we would call unprofessional, but like huge on funniness, and like childish playfulness, and we would need to speak to that, right? It would be I think the way to go would be to make fun of these stodgy elites, like Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab, these people, George Soros, they're like these are like super ancient fossils, and for some reason they control the world, and they have all of the money, and they've monopolized all of the land. Most of the land in the United States have been bought up by people like them, right? And so
Yeah.
it's like satirizing them and making them not cool, and then saying like nim or like whatever solution as like the final thing. I think the way to do it is to just make fun of the opposition, right? And it's not illegal to make fun of the opposition yet. Right, we're not that scared of them,
Yeah,
but
that's
yeah.
true.
And
Right on.
there is a lot of satire in the meme coins already. There's like
Oh
there's
yeah.
I think there's like Epstein coin. There's like Ghislaine Maxwell coin. It's right, like I'm sure Bill Gates has a fucking coin too. So it's just all satirizing these bad actors. Probably a P Diddy coin. I'm not sure. I
I
wouldn't
think
buy
I
them, but
think on no, I'm sure on. So I don't know if anyone's ever been to Pump.Fun. It's insane, and there's probably 1,000 P Diddy coins launched in 2 hours or something. I mean,
yeah,
the amount of things launched there.
Baby
Now
oil coin.
it's insane. It's very fast. It's very Gen Z. The whole thing.
right. They
They've got
have
people on live streams with these launches I've watched, and I'm like I don't even understand totally what's going on. I have to really study it to figure out what's going on. I've been around a while, so this is like a whole nother thing, a whole nother generation with a different appeal. But I totally agree. A lot of jokes, a lot of satire, lots of pretty very politically incorrect. A lot of that stuff I see there in the whole meme coin area. Sudo?
Next up is, it wouldn't be a community call in the crypto space if we didn't talk about the market overall a little bit. So I wanted to ask you about that as well, Chjango, if you don't mind. Um, we're supposed to be headed into a bull market, right? Some people say it's already happened with the all-time high that we hit, barely above the previous one. Some people say it's still coming. Um, some people say crypto will go to zero, which has been the case for basically ever since crypto's been around. Um, what do you make of the? I would say that we're now firmly over the FTX meltdown and the depression, sort of like the overarching depression afterwards. what do you make of the current market? What's happening today? Is Bitcoin hitting 200K this year? Next year? What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely see six figures up in the horizon, which is nice. And I this does seem like the last major cycle, like bubbly cycle before we come back to reality, and then the market actually evaluates the prices of things based on actual fundamentals. It does seem like we're at the precipice before our version of the .com bubble burst. So I see a blockchain bubble burst coming soon. I mean, soon, maybe, like next year, as early next year, to maybe we'll have some pattern that similarly reflects what happened in 2022. I think Q1 of next year, we'll see some kind of a black swan. It'll be a major black swan just because of the confluence of things happening. There's like banking failures, right? We haven't forgotten what happened to a lot of the regional banks in 2023. So I don't see. I think that was a preliminary earthquake predicting a bigger earthquake later on. But before that happens, I do see a nice little bull market blip happening after the elections. This has always happened following every single election. Things really rose in the winter time, like in December in particular, and things were great. It's because people view a regime change. They are pricing in projected positive things that the new regime is going to bring in, and so that gets reflected short term reflected in the tokens, and then what ensues is some kind of like a black swan, usually, that takes the liquidity away. It happens in twos, so there's like a big black swan, right? Like in 2020 it was the Luna DPEG first, and then afterwards there was a second one, which was the FTX collapse, which was like the death knell, marking the end of that previous cycle. And now this one, I think, our bull market started last October, right? When we had this like little blip, ordinals and everything getting exciting again. And then, with it'll conclude, I think, in the winter of this year, and then really wrap up by this time next year. So that's my projection. I think some, like a few other people have a similar vision as well.
Okay, well,
Amen.
no way. It's gonna just go up forever. Uh, do we want to like slowly? I have a funny story about facial recognition real quick, and maybe we can pull up some of the questions in the meantime, Sudo. So a comedian friend of mine, Marco, he has this funny joke, but it's just a story of his that he tells. So here in Germany, at a lot of the clubs, when you walk in, they put little stickers over your phone cameras, like these little round stickers as you go in, And so he goes in, he passes the door, and they put those on, and then he has to go pay at this window, and it's not working. And it's because he's trying to do the facial recognition on his phone to pay, but he forgot that he has a sticker on it. And the woman at the window goes, "I've been working here 30 years, and you're the stupidest person that I've ever seen." And then later he goes, "But that lady has been working at a window for 30 years selling tickets, and I'm the stupidest one." Anyway, I kind of butchered his joke, but it was kind of funny.
I know. I mean, the
Right.
feeling when you realize that, huh? Like you have like this like high technology device, and you're like, hey, yeah, it's got it recognized me. My face is my password, and then you fucking get locked out of.
Just a sticker is all you need, and then it's wrecked. Yeah. Anyway, let's look at some of the questions. Also, we're giving away a POAP today. It's a very special Halloween edition NFT POAP that I made myself just for this. But yeah, let's pull up some of the questions, Sudo.
All right, yeah, let's pull up some of the questions. This is actually something that we wanted to ask you about anyway, because you're big on Cosmos, right? You're a Cosmos maxi, from what I understand. This question is from
I'm
Papu.
not Cosmos Maxi.
Thanks for the question. What are your favorite Cosmos projects?
Well, first of all, Nim, of course.
Ah,
I love
Good answer.
Nim is one of the top. I also really like Osmosis, but I'm biased because I advise for them. So yeah. What else? What else? I like the UX of Evmos. When I tried to move Evmos to Osmosis, it was the simplest. It was like one click, auto generated your Osmo address, and it was just like an instant IBC transfer. So that was really nice, and I hope to see other Cosmos chains be able to emulate that. Hopefully, because it's just it was phenomenal when I saw that. Yeah, there's Celestia. Celestia's a good one. Another high FTV low float token that's recently unlocked as of today, or yesterday rather. I really like that. I think Celestia will have a really good run this bull cycle for what's left of it. You know, for the 6 months that's left of it, the 6 good months rather. Yeah.
cool.
Oh, yeah. So someone said Evmos is a secret. I don't mean to like. I don't. I'm. You know, it's not financial advice, by the way. I'm not saying that. You know, like the core team is not even working on Evmos the protocol anymore. They're like a dev shop, by the way. So I wouldn't say, you know, don't invest in it. You know, yeah.
Thanks for that
Short
answer.
every token she said short. No, I'm just joking. No, I'm just joking.
Not until Q1 of next year.
Not
That's
until
dependent.
Q1. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
And
the
we
exit
can't
time
stress
frame for
enough.
everyone.
We can't stress enough, not financial advice, guys. We're just joking around, okay? So we're not giving you financial advice here. You would have to pay for that.
Buy my meme
Next
coin.
question.
By
Yeah,
the way,
exactly.
I launched like a couple already.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
All right, next up is from Rocio, our beloved Rocio. She's asking, why are you a Cosmos drama survivor, Chjango? This is in your Twitter,
Yeah. For the
I believe.
yeah. For those of you who don't know my history, I think the reason why you think I'm a Cosmos Maxi is because I've been I was in the Cosmos founding team and built the ecosystem. And then started this podcast as kind of like a bridge into what you know, me as an individual now. Cosmos Drama Survivor, because Cosmos is notoriously known for being a high drama ecosystem, and that is due to the characters and the personalities within it. And so, being one of the characters, I survived that fiasco. Yeah, if you follow the history of Cosmos, everyone started in the same team, and then you know, there was a big bang sort of explosion canon event that caused factions to break off, and that was one of the, you know, that was why Osmosis was born out of that. That was one faction, and you know, so on and so forth. So that's, I survived.
We're glad to hear you survived. Happy to have you here. Thanks for that answer. Now you guys know. Next up is from Alex. Thanks for the question, Alex. I think we covered most of this, but it's worth asking again, you know, just so people have the whole list all in one place. Any privacy apps you use daily and recommend?
So I'm one of those weird people who you know, I make the trade off, right? I do use all of the surveilled apps with full knowledge that everything is being recorded and watched. But the way that I interact online, if I want to be anonymous, is, you know, I you know, browse using a VPN, turn on incognito. Use anonymous accounts that aren't tied to my real world identity, stuff like that, where it counts. for like very niche applications. And if in fact I do want communication to be fully end-to-end encrypted, I will go on Telegram and open up a secret chat. And it's just like these little practices that augment the stuff that stuff that I do, that is being watched. So it's less so it's less so like apps specifically that I use for that, but more of like a practice. Yeah.
Okay, so with that, you also answered the next question, which was from John Travolta, which was exactly the practice. So, what do you need to follow in order to stay private online or anonymous online, besides using a VPN? There's a second part to his question, which I'm going to show on here, which is that what should people do to be anonymous, and also more importantly, what should they not do in any case? What do you think is the most um, like unadvised, disadvised? How would you say that? Not advised, the least advised
Yeah.
thing to do to stay anonymous.
I think it's a very nuanced thing. If you could create an anonymous email account that's not tied to your identity, and then use that to browse the internet, through incognito, right? But then, if you're, it would be good if you use VPN. But I think what people mistakenly do is you turn on VPN, and then you open up your browser that, let's say you're using Chrome, and your Chrome browser is signed into your email that is strongly inferred to your identity. Then Google has still fingerprinted you. So you have to practice turning on the VPN, and then uh, opening up the Chrome browser with all of your extensions intact. Like, you have to manually toggle your extensions to like work in incognito. And then for that browser tab to not be logged into to any email. So that's the only way that you could securely privately browse. Or you could use Firefox as well. It's more of a problem if you use Chrome, but really just not like practicing good hygiene when it comes to browsing in incognito, and being sure like it's incognito, not you're not logged in on Google. This when you check your profile tab in Chrome, right? Like, if you're logged in or not just logged in, but in incognito. Uh, Anything short of
I,
that, and Google can fingerprint you.
I have to add here, guys, that incognito mode, which is also been proven by a lawsuit, I believe, where it came out that incognito mode, especially in Chrome, does not do much. So please don't rely on incognito mode. The one thing that I would add to privacy practices, which for some reason doesn't really get mentioned that often, but a strong ad blocker is absolutely foundational to online privacy, because there's so many trackers via cookies and other means that different vendors try to place on your machine, and ad blocking is basically locking out, I don't know, at least 80% of surveillance, and then all you need to deal with the rest of the practices and hygiene that you have, is the remaining 20%. So please, guys, for the love of God, use an ad blocker. All
But
right.
isn't it interesting that
So
Google is going after ad blockers and trackers, or yeah, like
Yeah, that's
they're
that's been
they're
actually
kicking it off.
that's really yeah, that's interesting. I think that's just like an ongoing thing. So basically, like Google has some rules, and then all the predatory ad people try to break those rules too to get better rankings in Google and to like track better than the Google rules. And so it's always like a cat and mouse between the predatory people too, which is like really interesting.
I
Right.
mean, obviously they would want to block ad blocks and do things against ad blocks, because their entire business model, of course, is ads. That's where the revenue is from. But I think on the other hand, ads are probably the worst things. Like online ads, the worst is the worst thing that ever happened to us. Not just how a web page looks without ad block, but also um, the like surveillance economy, the whole model of surveillance capitalism that comes along with it. That's fueled by ads and ad money. That's what the whole model is about. So I think ads low key are the worst, and they cause a lot of bad things in the world. So stop ads, save lives, Um, that was my deep message for today. All right. Next up from Janice. Thanks for the question, Janice. Do you have a surveillance-related conspiracy theory? Something we don't know yet.
I don't think I have any that that most people don't know yet. Except there is an I do have a very neat, interesting one about China and the simplification of traditional Chinese, and Orwellian lore comes to mind, where they like remember in the book how they changed the language and took certain words out of the language, and then simplified a lot of things, and then it was called newspeak. So in
Hmm.
China, they recently, like in recent memory of the last like 2 decades, they've revamped the Chinese language. They turn, ostensibly because, oh, there's too many strokes in the traditional Chinese language, so not many people are going to remember. So we're going to create this new, lexicon. We're going to create a new dictionary with like fewer strokes, and it's called Simplified Chinese. And now that Simplified Chinese has become ubiquitous across all of East Asia, except for Taiwan, which is the last bastion of traditional Chinese. And so when I ask some Chinese people, I'm Chinese by the way, but I'm not fluent in the language. But when I ask fluent native Chinese speakers, like if they can think of any words that have been erased from the lexicon, they say yes, they confirm it. And so
Hmm.
I think Orwell or Orwell has taken place in China with that. So maybe it's not so surveillance related, but it's definitely thought
Well,
crime related.
yeah, but that makes it easier to surveil if there's not so many complicated words. It definitely makes it a lot easier, I think.
Yeah, well, it also like standardizes the set of vocab across the entire Chinese language, because Chinese is the Latin of most Asian languages.
Yeah.
Like Korean, Japanese, they're derivatives, Cantonese derivatives of that, and so all of them have been standardized across the board. And yeah, like you said, if it's easier to survey and control, like why not do it across all East Asian languages? And Taiwan has been the last holdout, so we'll see, right?
We'll
And
see.
speaking of hardware, like it's no wonder with TSMC's foundry being there and being like one or two in the whole world of foundries that make the entire world's chip supply. Come on, like it's no wonder that why China wants to grab it. It's such an important key strategic place.
Definitely,
Def.
TSMC is responsible for some of the highest end like semiconductor manufacturing that exists today. I think this next one is going to be our last question, actually, which we have time for. This one is also from Rocio. Thanks for the great question. As the host of a radio show, Interchain FM, what advice do you have for those of us new to this field on how to talk about privacy and not make it boring? I think this is a great question.
Yeah, again, I think talking about privacy itself is pretty boring, but talking about the opposition and contextualizing it in the greater zeitgeist, and where we're headed, right? That totalitarian timeline, like talking about how we're kind of trending in that direction, and how, like, what sorts of things need to be done in order to combat that, privacy being a key pillar of combating that. I think it's really important, because I think like absent of like seeing the bigger picture and what your life can really look like in that totalitarian context, um, people would really care less about privacy, because you don't need privacy until things are really really bad. And so I think reminding people about what that could look like, right? Like in Venezuela, several decades ago, before it became this communist socialist state, was prosperous. It was beautiful. People were free, happy. Iran, before the revolution, same thing, right? Women were dressing like women do in the West, and then like over the change of one regime, all of it became like burqas and very stifling culture. And so, reminding people about how quickly things can change if we continue to sleepwalk into that timeline that we don't want to sleepwalk into. So just like, like waking more people. Wake up! Don't sleepwalk into bed.
Wake up.
Yeah. We need privacy.
I'll add something there because what you're saying makes sense, of course. But what I've been thinking about, and I think many community members heard me say this before, I still don't have an answer, a proper answer, because it's a hard question or like a hard problem to solve. But what would really be great if we could come up collectively with ways in which we can talk about privacy, this problem of privacy, the potential dystopia that we're headed into, and all of that stuff, without fear-based communication. I think it's very hard to do because there's this impending sort of doomsday scenario, which is very real, and there's the whole people can't see it. You got to tell them that there's this urge. But on the other hand, it would be nice if we could do it without fear, because I think fear can only go so far, right? If we can motivate people and mobilize people to actually do something that's usually not by fear-based communication. I have no answer here. It's just something I throw in there for the end.
Love.
Yeah,
right?
love.
Like right. It can only like harkening back to our conversation about like, oh, like isn't it when they're incarcerating Pavel, they're putting Roman in, right, like that is completely fear-based, and it's that they want to make examples out of these people so that people like us don't continue building our way out of it. But it's love for our future generation and our kids that is going to compel us to keep building, even in the face of death and incarceration.
Definitely. So is it time
exactly.
is it time to reveal our amazingly fun way to communicate privacy, POAP?
It is the key message, the key takeaway here, I think, was just said at this very last bit. Keep building, guys. We're definitely here at NIM are going to keep building. And here is your pull-up for today. This is a very special one.
And
It's a high-quality rendering by Theo of a NIM VPN costume for Halloween. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. I would wear it if it existed. I would pay money for this.
yeah.
Absolutely amazing. And then the secret phrase, you're going to be seeing it on the screen in a second, is going to be spooky nimsters. Wait a second, let me drop it in chat.
Yeah. And so just so you know, this is the noise generation cover traffic. So this is how your packets would look. They would look really weirdly noised, And then I was trying to figure out, like, if you wanted to dress up like a MixNet VPN for Halloween, how would that outfit look? So I was trying to figure out the best way that I could do it. So you kind of need the interface to, that shows you how long you're logged in. And a head, you would still see a head. I mean, you can't be completely private, invisible man during Halloween. You'd run into people. But I think this is a pretty good rendition communicating the, irregular, you can't really see what's going on. It's a little noisy, and it's fun.
Exactly.
So
Theo,
I want to see pictures of everybody dressed up like NIM VPN. If you dress up like NIM VPN and go trick or treating, I will give you some NIM tokens. I'm not a lot, but some. But if you send me a picture of that, then definitely do it. And Sudo's, I heard a rumor that he's going to dress up like this at DevCon at one of the parties.
Maybe that's happening. I can neither confirm nor deny, but this is definitely a high quality rendering, an exquisite piece about NIM VPN. So big thanks for that, Theo. Folks, you can see on the screen the link that you need to go to is the usual. We also dropped it in chat. So it's nimtech.net/go/poap. And the password is, or the secret phrase with the same spelling, spooky nimsters. And with all of that said, huge thanks for joining us, Chjango. We came to the end of this call. Any closing remarks?
Yeah, I wanted to tell Theo that I thought when I saw that, I thought it was a condom. so I actually, yeah.
That's great.
So I actually thought I thought it was hearkening to like private internet accesses slogan originally. You know, they're like browse safely, and it's like a condom. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
And
There
I
was
was-
actually no, it's totally fits. I mean, it is kind of an internet condom in a way, and there
yeah.
was actually NIM swag in 2019 that was a condom, but I forgot what the tagline was. But it's kind of controversial to have that as swag, let's say.
I
Yeah.
know.
But it is a kind of condom. All privacy technology is. So be
Yeah,
safe out
and
there.
the noise and this you know, like the sensor around, it could be around like the the phallic object.
Are you trying to make like a noise condom? This is really weird. But it's like
No, I mean like you know, like
No,
the
okay.
pixelated.
I get it.
That's
Yeah. I get it. Censored. Yeah.
yeah. So Sudo, if I see you at DevCon, that's like a big. I'll know the NIM guys are here.
Are you gonna be
Yeah,
at
I was
DEF CON?
I will be.
Oh, nice. Okay, maybe let's hang out there.
Okay, let's do it. I'll come in a space costume. I would love to see a walking. See, this is something that the Gen Zers would love, right? Is if there's just like this
exactly.
big D walking around.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there is one event, one like dress up event specifically. I forgot the name of it, but I think if you just showed up at one of the parties with some like weird, I mean, how the hell would it? I mean, maybe you can just if you have an idea what a VPN should look like as a costume, then just tell us.
We just,
'Cause I've been
I think
trying
we
to figure
arrived at
that
the
out.
solution. I think that's
I would walk in as like a big pixelated sensor and like stand in front of you, Sudo, if you if you came in as like as a naked browser.
We're getting somewhere,
Naked
actually.
browser. Getting somewhere. There we go.
All right, folks, you heard it here first. We solved our costume problem here live with Chjango, so that's beautiful. Any closing remarks, Chjango?
I think
Again.
All right, so big thanks to our audience for joining us today. This was a lovely conversation. Also, big thanks, Chjango, for taking the time. See you at DEF CON. Enjoy the very exquisite limited edition POAP for this this Halloween community call. See you later, everyone.